Today we're going to see that even if you're gun Amish and still use iron sights, you can get down and do work. Hi everyone, and welcome to today's bonus badge cam lesson here at Active Self Protection. I'm your host, John Correa.
I'm your co-host, Mike Bulliver. Today's video comes to us from about 4 blocks away in Phoenix, Arizona.
You need a shot timer because that which gets measured gets worked on. The Range Tech Timer is the official timer of Active Self Protection because it is versatile, reliable, feature-rich, and very economical. Check out all it can do at the link below.
Officers have been called here for a domestic. If you go watch the original from Phoenix PD, they have the 911 calls. This is a long history with this couple in this apartment complex, and every time the cops show up, it makes it worse for the woman, is what she said at one point. So let's listen in from here.
Hello. Which one? Hey, he's got his gun. He's got his gun now, boss. Hey. Hey, put that gun down right now. Put that freaking gun down. Back, go. 14 George, 9 and 8.
Zoomed in and slowed down. You see the guy has got a gun in his hand, and so our officer's going to get his gun up, tell him put him down. When he doesn't, he actually motions towards the officers a little bit. Now the shooting starts. He's going to rip off several shots at the guy accurately. So he hit him at least a couple of times out of these from a pretty interesting shot. We're going to listen in and watch from there as he's going to go upstairs.
What's up?
Hey, put that gun down right now.
Hey, put it down.
Put the freaking gun down.
After the shooting, the officers move up to the second level of the apartment building and began giving Durham commands to show his hands.
Hey, get over there, see if you can get an angle. Hey, put your fucking hands up!
Put your freaking
Hands up!
Durham shows his hands but remains in the apartment's doorway. The sergeant tells Durham he wants to get him help, but he needs him to crawl away from the door.
Center firearm pointed at a female on the first floor. Hey! Hands up! Crawl to me! Get on the fucking ground! Get on the fucking ground now! We will get you help! You understand? I need you to crawl away from the door.
That voice you heard was Phoenix's public information officer talking about what happened. You can watch that on the original too. Gonna get some guys with long guns up there, and they're gonna go and try to take this guy into custody. Baby mama shows up and says that there's kids inside, so the officers are gonna find out that the guy's now unresponsive on the ground. So now they're gonna go and clear the house and make sure that there's no other threats in there. And again, our dude has passed out at that point. There are no other threats. Officers get the kids to safety. Thankfully, they weren't hurt. The lady who was the victim of domestic violence wasn't hurt. There was the gun that they found on the ground. They did try to do first aid for this guy until the fire department got there, but he died of his wounds, and we're gonna think about lessons. Hey, did you know that Active Self Protection actually has an instructor certification that we put on 2 cohorts a year that trains people not on how to shoot, but we actually train people how to teach. Adult learning, curriculum design, student learning, assessment programs to help you be the best instructor you can be. If you think you're up to the task, hit the link in the description and find out more. And yet again, Mike, we see on the channel how just crazy, difficult, and violent these domestic violence calls can get. And when you're an officer recognized, you're not going to get called when it's in the, we're having a problem phase here. You're getting called when it's the violence has already begun phase.
Yeah, I think we can all agree any man who puts hands on a woman is not a man. If you're in that position,
look, anybody who puts hands on somebody else, be an adult, use words.
For sure. And if you're an angry guy or angry gal, I guess for that matter, but you're an angry person, you think you're potentially going to become violent or abusive. Hey, take a walk, go get some counseling, do something. because these, as you said, John, these calls are extremely dangerous because, as I've said before, there's two people who have very passionate feelings about each other, one way or the other, and all of a sudden you're there now interfering with their personal life, whether, it could be the neighbors who called, could have been the woman who called, and frequently they will both turn on the officer or the deputy. So that wasn't the case here, obviously, but DV calls, super dangerous.
Yeah, and listen, let's recognize adults use words to solve problems. We don't put our hands on each other. Now, I will say this sergeant here, okay? So he and I have a mutual friend, and I don't know him. I've never met him, but from everything I've heard, he gets down. He knows how to train. He is excellent. He's a little gun Amish because he has iron sights on his gun, but we're going to give him a pass on that. The thing that I'm going to notice here, he has his department-issued cell phone in his right hand. He's the sergeant on duty. Okay, cool. But recognize if the shooting starts, you need to have two hands on the gun. So actually, I like that he has it in his strong side hand because that means he absolutely will drop it when it's time to pick the gun up.
Interesting point. I hadn't thought of that till you just said that. Interesting point. Okay, well, I'm gonna give that some thought. I think you're probably right. Although John, man, we've seen this guy looks squared away. We've seen some really goofy stuff on this channel where they, a flashlight, a gun, a taser, all at the same time. But
almost always in the support hand.
Yeah, and I gotta say, officers, be like this guy, be like this sergeant, and train when you're at the range, when the square range. Just train. Have a notebook, a pen, a pencil, a flashlight, whatever, a department-issued cell phone in your hand. And when the go signal comes, practice getting it, emptying your hands, opening them and emptying them, and getting after that gun as quickly as you can, which is exactly what he does here.
It's exactly what he does here. So you can see he's still got it in his hand here. When the guy shows up with a gun, both the officer's camera that we're on right now and our sergeant, both hands on the gun, and it starts going. Now, here's what I want you to see. You notice he's in a good shooting position. Now, he's moving forward a little bit here, and yes, he is, handgun Amish, so he's using those iron sights. I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend a red dot in the year of our Lord 2022 and beyond, but you can still do great work with them. And so, listen, marksmanship is king, and up at the second floor at around 25 yards, that's not an easy shot.
It's not. I mean, how often do you practice shooting something that's elevated above you? I don't know that
Almost never, because it's hard to do at the range.
Yeah, maybe if there was a goofy range where the targets were high in the burn, but this is something to think about. We make these videos for one reason, and that is for the public to understand what the police do when they do it, and to help these officers get a mental rep, think through something. Okay, well, I might have the low ground. What am I going to do then? And we talk all the time here, John, about marksmanship, and especially your confidence and your marksmanship skills. Your confidence is key.
And confidence comes from competence.
Yes, and if this sergeant was like, man, I haven't been to the range in 3 quarters, I had a medical exemption, and so I'm not so sure about this shot, this ends differently. It ends completely differently.
And thankfully it doesn't. So he is ready to rock. So again, looking at it slowed down here, this guy presents a sideways target. So this isn't even a full value target that he presents here. The guy is kind of bladed off. So again, you got to be able to hit that little target at some distance. That means officers, get your B8s on and get them out there at 25 yards so that you know what's going on. Now, as he finishes up here, you see him kind of transition the phone around a little bit and is going to get those shots off. You see him, he rips off about 9 rounds here. And now he has a problem because the guy goes back in the house where we know the domestic is. And this is a big problem, Mike.
Yeah, I did a lot of LE in the San Diego area. And there, a lot of these apartment complexes are the same basic design. And they have these tiny little walkways on the second floor. And it is a tactical nightmare, John. If you have ever had to serve a warrant on something like this, because basically that railing is not going to stop anybody over 5'5" from falling over it. So you have the potential of somebody coming out and just pushing you. Also, officers, pay attention when you're in a situation like this. You don't back yourself into a place where if this guy gets inside of one of these apartments, that you have an egress route. So pay attention to your surroundings. Otherwise, you could find yourself with a position my buddy Craig Johnson in San Diego did, where he was shot, trapped on a balcony, and he had his back to the 2 railings. There's nowhere for him to go. So practice that. Give that some mental reps when you're just running these calls. Think about, hey, what's my egress? What am I going to do if this happens? What am I going to do if that happens? This is an excellent time to think about that sort of thing. And as you can see, if you end up having a fight with this guy down the hallway, it's like fighting a bobcat in a phone booth. It sucks. It's no fun and it's dangerous.
Yeah. And last thing I want to point out here from the tactical perspective is that this is why a low ready is so important. This is why not pointing a gun at the door is so important, because what came out of that door was an innocent bystander, and you don't want to point a gun at her. She's actually the victim in this particular case.
Right.
And thankfully our officers didn't. They had that low ready solid and well trained and well ingrained. And I also think, that the actions of of the officers from here show their heart. You know, they cleared the problem, they went and got the kids, made sure the kids were safe, got them out of there, back to their mama. They don't want to do harm to people. They want to go home at the end of their shift and protect, not end up taking a life. And I think that their work, you know, trying to do first aid on the guy until the fire department showed up was work as well. I would say these Phoenix PD officers, as they often do, Phoenix PD gets down, they covered their ass.